There is a large segment that presumes everything that they hear on Instagram and Facebook is kosher.
Are you spontaneous as a poster of IG? Did you mull over it? It seems spontaneous to me, but how does it work? And
I think Instagram has the capacity to break images and leverages the creative potential of a user to speak sometimes without words and only through images. When there was a presentation done on autonomy of teenagers, quickly Sandhya and I glanced at each other as parents. That when you look at the term autonomy, does it bring with it a hazard of child safety? I believe that if you truly want to secure an engagement on a platform, that is where we need to begin with. So if you say that Smriti Irani, till such time she did not have an Instagram presence, was known as a very morbid administrator, I will completely agree with you. I deliberately used Instagram so that people could discover that there is something about my personality that newspapers would not tell you about. So every platform has its own negatives or positives. You service the needs of your customers better when you recognize the negatives and you address them with solutions. So I'm happy that the last time I met the Meta team, I had some concerns about safety and security of women and young girls. And today in your presentation, you highlighted the various facets that can be used to secure the environment and the platform better for female use and for the use of children. The challenge is, do we recognize how young the user is getting? Is it only the 16-year-olds and the 18-year-olds? Have you ever considered the 10-year-olds who have access? And everything today in the presentation is about real Instagram accounts. There is an ecosystem called Finsters, which are the fake Instagram accounts, which are designed in such a fashion that if you would like to attack, it's the Insta version of trolling. So how much do we recognize that those are aspects also that need conversations? The fact that somebody, and especially a young one, has the mindset to know that if I want to attack somebody, I can fake an Instagram account. And especially if I want to attack a woman or a female colleague who is a young one at school. And I think those conversations, the more we have it in, like I said, smaller towns, cities, the summit truly will be most successful if we take it out of the national capital and take it to the state capitals, take it to educational institutions, especially the rural segments of our society. What is the framework in which we define digital literacy? There was a time where financial literacy was about opening a bank account. What should financial literacy, especially for women, be about now? If you ask me, I'm the mother to two young ladies. I would rather they, instead of looking for a good boy, they look for a great bank balance and buy themselves a house. For me, that is financial literacy. So even the aspect of digital literacy from the time that the platform was offered to citizens to today has changed. Has the component of digital literacy then changed? That is the one aspect we need to see. And the components which make digital literacy, is there a differential between what you as a platform deem digital literacy and what administrators term as digital literacy? It's the responsibility of a collector and the superintendent of police. The government, in collaboration with all state governments, runs a helpline called 1098, which is the child line. But there is absolutely no symmetry between this helpline and that helpline. Now imagine, given the power of the platform, millions on it, some kid will presume that your helpline is the helpline to call when they're in mortal danger. And that child keeps calling an NGO. And the NGO obviously is not equipped in terms of law and order to give an immediate response. So there is those gaps that still needs to be sewn over. I'm mindful of the fact that Meta has never digressed on administrative responsiveness. But those are the issues, like I said, that need to get addressed. And that becomes then part of digital literacy. That if you know that academic institutions like schools and parent-teacher organizations have a presence, would you, and you've voluntarily done a lot to address the issue of safety, push the 1098 number to say, call this if you're in mortal danger. Now, why am I saying this? 1098, 3 years ago, was run by NGOs. And we did a study with all the NGOs that were responding. When a child was in mortal danger, by the time the NGO told the police, it was 60 minutes. And that kid, imagine 1 hour in an emergency, you're waiting for somebody to respond. So that is why, if we want to service the needs of child safety with alacrity, we need to work with agencies that have a quick response time. So in the translation between the platform and the authorities, if you have intermediaries who have access to that data, for us, that's an alarm bell. So can you look at now making a system where you are having access to such a huge amount of data, you are committed to privacy, but the government and agencies in law and order are committed to responding with speed to people in danger. So how can you take away the intermediaries, and between the platform and those who are responsible to respond, how can you bridge that gap is something I'm sure that you can reflect on. Because remember, there is a large segment that presumes everything that they hear on Instagram and Facebook is kosher. Now, if you say as a country, as a collective, we are coming together to set the agenda for 25 years from now, we would like to hear the voices of the young ones we are working for. What is the kind of nation state they hope to be a part of 25 years from now? They are the Amrit generation, as we call them. First budget of that particular Amrit Kal was just presented. When I put forth this request, what it in turn does, it compels the young ones to at least look at the national budget. Because many of us never imagined that a youngster would sit and look at the details in the national budget. For them, the budget happens, the elders discuss it, financial pages or financially based television channels debate it, and it's done. But that budget lays the very financial foundation of a future they are going to be a part of. So I'm glad that Meta has taken up that request, is going to reach out to youngsters across the country to say, tell us, what do you see now that will help fulfill the vision of what you want of the nation state 25 years from now. So I'm hoping that young students across the country will contribute, and whoever is shortlisted by Meta, we in the Ministry of Women and Child Development are more than happy then to take this group of youngsters to the Indian Parliament, to see the Presidential Palace, to see the Prime Minister's Museum, where all the Prime Ministers who have served our country, their journey is housed under one roof. And we hope that this engagement with the youngsters in our country tell them that government is here to serve them, not only now, but also in the future. It is for the youngsters to take the power back in their hands.